Hello and welcome to today's videos. I am going to be showing you today how we can use the TI-84 Plus graphing calculator to help us with problems under the Study Island lesson Radical Expressions. And these are also problems that would be under Standard 1.1b in Algebra 2. And so it's always a good idea to know how to do these problems by hand, but if you get stuck or you on the EOI or if you're looking for a way to check yourself, it's also good to know these skills. So our first problem here has to do with adding and subtracting radicals, which means the square root symbol, with a variable underneath. So when you have a variable, you can't just go typing it in using the square root symbol and using the X symbol in this screen. You have to use the graphing function of the calculator. So what you're going to do is you're going to press the Y equals button right here under StatPlot. And when I press that, it brings up this screen. So now on that Y1, I'm going to set that equal to this, to the problem. So I'm going to type 7 and then second square root 9x, this is with the button here, the xt alpha n, I use that to get my x, plus 27. And in the problem, that's everything that's under the square root. So I'm going to go ahead and over arrow so that I'm done typing under the square root, and then type minus 4. Make sure you use the minus button and not the negative button. The calculator isn't smart to interchange them. You have to use the correct one each time. And then I'll press second square root again, x plus 3, arrow out, and I have the question in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in each answer one at a time and graph them to see if I get any answers, to see which graph is the same. So I'm going to start with letter A. And so I'm going to type 17 second square root x plus 3. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to right before the y squared and using my arrows, and now you see how that line is flashing? I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to change it to a thicker line so that when I'm graphing it, I can see if the graphs are completely overlapped or not, or if they are different graphs, because I need them to be the same graphs to find my answer. So you can press graph. I'm going to go ahead and press zoom and then choice 6 standard, and that just gets me back to a 10 by 10 screen. Now, so once again, I press second zoom, I press zoom 6, and that's the standard. So if I watch it, it's a skinny line, and then right over top of it, the thick line is drawn. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be my answer. Now sometimes they're too close to tell and you have to zoom out or zoom in to make sure. So the way that I always go to make sure it's I'm 100% right is I can go to second table, and here is the x values and the y coordinates for the first graph, and then the x values and the y coordinates for the second graph. If these y's are exactly the same no matter where you go, if you look at 0, if you look at negative numbers, if they're exactly the same like they are here, that means that's going to be your answer. Now let me show you what it looks like when it's not your answer. So my answer in this problem is A, and I'm going to go ahead and type in a wrong answer so you can see what that looks like also. You have 2x plus 6, so just typed right over it, or I could have pressed delete and typed it. And I'm just going to go straight to that table because I know that that's the sure way. And I go to the table, and you see how the y values are just a little bit off? That's a wrong answer. So that's the way when you are adding and subtracting radicals, so square roots, cube roots that have variables in them, that's how you can check your answer. Now the rest of the problems that we're going to look at today is just with the straight numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and type this in. I'm just going to type the problem in, 3 second square root 50, right arrow over because to get out of the square root, plus 6 second square root 18, right arrow out of it, plus 4 second square root 72. Okay, and I press enter and it gives me the answer as a decimal. Now here it gives me the exact answer with the square root. This calculator doesn't have the capabilities to put your answer in a square root form. Now, if you're using a scientific calculator, such as the TI-30XS, it can. So you can bounce between them, that's fine. But if this is just the one that you're using, this is how you would find the answer. So I'm going to go to A, and I'm going to type that answer in, and press enter, and if it gives me that same 80.610173006, that's my answer. If it's a different number when I press enter, it's a wrong answer. So I'm going to go ahead and type 57 second square root 2, enter, and look, it's the exact same answer. So I know that A is going to be my final correct answer. Now if I were to check the rest of them, so I'm going to type in B, which is 63 square root of 3, you can see how that my first answer here and the answer of letter B are different numbers. So that's a wrong answer. So that's how I can eliminate B as a choice. And it's always a good idea to just double check all of your answers to make sure you didn't make a mistake. But in number 2 here, A is going to be my answer. Now I'm looking at number 4. In number 4 here, it says Molly is making a quilt for her mother. The quilt will have several designs. One of the designs is shown below. What is the total perimeter of this design in inches? So perimeter means I add up all of the sides. So I can use the calculator to go ahead and find that decimal and then just repeat that same process. So I'm going to just add up each of these sides. So I'm going to have 2 square root of 2, right arrow, plus 2 second square root of 2, right arrow, plus 2 second square root of 2, right arrow, plus 2 second square root of 2, right arrow, plus 2 second square root of 2, right arrow, plus 2 second square root of 2, right arrow, and then I have the 4s on the bottom, plus 4, plus 4, plus 4, and I press enter, and that gives me the decimal of 28.97056275. And so now I just type in the answers to see which one of them gives me that same exact number. So I have 24 plus 6 second square root of 2 in letter A, and I press enter, and it's 32, not 28. So I can see right away that's not going to be an answer. I'm looking for 28.97, etc. So I'm going to have 24 second square root of 2. I press enter. Still not this 28.97 I'm looking for. So I just cleared it out, so that was the only one I could see, so don't get confused. So I'm going to try letter C, 12 plus 12 second square root of 2. And I press enter, and there they match. This is the original one that I typed in, and there's the answer, and I get the same number, so I know that C is going to be my final answer. Now I'm going to look at problems where we have radicals or square roots with fractions. And we don't have a fraction bar on this calculator, but we have a division symbol, and that's this. We can use them interchangeably. So just remember, when you're using the division symbol for a fraction bar, you just need to put the numerator in parentheses and the denominator in parentheses. So here I'm going to have parentheses 1, parentheses divide, and you can see it even comes out as a fraction. The slash kind of reminds you of a fraction bar. Second square root, but remember I need to put that in parentheses, so parentheses second square root, 5, arrow out, and parentheses. And I press enter, and I get this as a decimal. So then it's the same procedure. Right away I can see B and D aren't going to be the answer. So I'm going to try A. I'm going to type in 5 second square root 5, and I press enter. And I get 11.1 instead of 0.44, so that's not going to be an answer. So I'm hoping C works out, because it's the last one I have. C is another fraction, so I'm going to put parentheses around my numerator. And then divide, and then parentheses around my denominator. And I press enter, and there those fractions do match. This is my original from the problem, and this is my answer. They're the same, so that means C here is going to be my final answer. Here, this fraction has a bit more to it, but it's still the same procedure. I just had to remember to put parentheses around my numerator and parentheses around my denominator. So I'm going to put a parenthesis and then second square root 51, right arrow, minus second square root 34, right arrow, end parenthesis because that's the end of my numerator, and then division symbol for the fraction bar, and then I put in my denominator. So parenthesis, second square root 17, end parenthesis, and then I press enter, and I get that decimal. That's my goal to get for the rest of the answers. So I know right away that this decimal and 1 isn't going to be the same, and it's also not going to be 17 because neither of those are decimals, and that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to try B and C. So B is second square root 3, right arrow, minus second square root 2, and I press enter, and right away I can see that those are the exact same fractions. So that means B here is going to be my final answer. You're also going to see problems where you're multiplying cube roots together. So when you're looking at the calculator, you don't see a cube root button anywhere. You have to go under the math menu. So I just press this math button, and there the fourth choice is your cube button. The fifth choice is when you could use any root number. So if I needed to do the fifth root, I would press 5 and then come select this button here. That's what the X stands for, is any root. So I need choice 4, so you can arrow down to it and then press enter, or you can just press 4. So I'm going to press an 8, and that's all that's under the cube root, so I'm going to arrow out. And then times 3, and then I go to math again, and to get that fourth root, or get the cubed root on the fourth choice, and then I press 8, and then I press enter, and there I see my answer is 12. So since that isn't a decimal, and they just put 12 right there, I know right away that my answer is A. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you learned something new.